Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's the Full 40 with Chris, Rob, and Willie, part of the Nova Insider Network. It is Sunday, February 5th, roughly 8:30 p.m., coming to you after more losses.
Wait, the full 35.
The full, sorry,
True.
that's right.
Very
That's
true.
right. I changed it. It's now the almost 30, almost full, kind of like almost there, but
7,
kind
8,
of
it's
more
not
a
bad.
roughly 35-minute podcast. But we're back here on the heels of an 0-3 week and looking at a big 3-game homestand ahead. And hopefully we will have. We actually did I say hopefully, emphasize hopefully. We're supposed to have maybe have a couple guests, at least one, come on the show a little bit later. And I say maybe because people got to get kids to bed and shit like that. So all that being said, let's dig in here and we'll go quick kind of recap of the week that was. Our last podcast covered the Providence game. So we just quickly go over the Marquette and the Creighton game. And ironically, these games happened right around Groundhog Day because it's been Groundhog Day for Villanova basketball this year.
If you missed the Marquette game, watch the game that happened on December 26th, and you watched it. That's the same thing. It was the same thing.
God, it's terrible.
It's the game that happened on December 31st. It's
the 31st. Yeah, it was like 26th.
Yeah.
It was not on the day after Christmas.
The game that happened versus UConn on December 28th. It's the game that happened versus Providence. It's the game that happened versus Creighton. It's the game that happened
Iowa State, Michigan State.
Yep.
Same thing. We did a lot of themes last year, or narratives. Sorry, we did narratives. This is clearly just the narrative of the season. Just can't finish it at the end.
So these performances have required me to go a little bit bigger than usual today.
Ooh, what do you have?
I've got a Boulevardier.
What is that again? I don't even know.
Bourbon. It's a Negroni, but but swap out the gin for a bourbon. So that's a Basil Hayden red wine cask finish. I got the Campari and the sweet vermouth, and so I'm going big. And backup reinforcements, I got a Michelob Ultra. So we're going big today. We're doing it live.
Oh, that's great. Oh man.
All right, guys. Look, here's the thing. If you told me going into this week that our coach was Jay Wright and that we had the lineup that we did, I would still say that 0-2 was like a reasonable outcome, especially the way the games were played. Tough, slug it out, drag it out fights, but we're on the road, high energy fan bases, prime time events, and we go 0-2. Like, you put those losses individually in a bubble, you wrap them up and you say, these are just this loss in this universe of this game. You come out of that and you say to yourself, okay, it wasn't that bad. Like we showed out pretty well, played pretty well against Marquette, who's objectively right now the best team in the conference, and showed out pretty well versus Creighton, and had the lead late in that game, like in the last minute of that game. And they are probably playing better basketball than anybody in the conference right now. So the two arguably best teams right now, I got Xavier's in there, you got Providence in there, but you take those two games on the road and you say, okay, you lose those two games. That's not like terribly offensive. But the problem is that when you put it in the context of the entire season, forgetting even the record, and just say, like, we came up short late in the game, late turnovers, late rebounds, late inability to score the basketball, late inability to even get a reasonably decent look at a basket.
Yeah. And
you say, oh my goodness, this is intensely frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like it's kind of like in a bubble, you sit there and you just say, like, I mean, these losses are excusable, but when you put it in the context of the whole season, you need some type of positive momentum, and we can't seem to get it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot there. Like, I don't know. I just feel I'm struggling. I'm struggling for words just because it does feel like the same talk track. And at some point, you're looking for positive momentum. And if you don't score more points than the other team at the end of the day, there just isn't positive momentum from moral victories. And like we can point to a couple things, and I know we'll talk about Justin. And I think actually, Justin stepping forward and stepping up in the past week, I think has made, it's funny to say, like, I think it's made a huge difference in how the team looks. And obviously we talked a little bit about that on the last podcast as well. The challenge is it didn't translate to wins. The team did look better holistically, and you see the difference that Justin makes, and he's definitely operating at a higher level. Like you see him kind of getting into his flow, you see his shot coming back, which obviously makes a huge difference to these guys. But at the end of the day, like we end the week, we're since our last podcast, whatever, 0-3, and you sit there and say, okay, Justin Moore was supposed to be our savior because he's back, and maybe he's at 65% of what he was. Maybe he's at 70%. Maybe he'll get back up to 80 or 90%. But then you just start to raise the question that we've raised like for a couple months now. It's like you just kind of run out of games at some point, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting for it to click and say, yeah, this team is going to be the team to make a run. And when this guy comes back and that guy comes back, you're like, all right, well, here we are. Everybody's back. Like maybe there's another 10% or 15% of Justin Moore, but like, is that going to make the difference? Like, honestly, I don't think it is. And I guess my takeaway is, we keep waiting and talking and hoping about making a run in the Big East tournament. And I don't know, that hope has definitely faded for me. I guess I almost assumed when Justin came back, we'd get one of these wins just because it's Justin Moore. And the fact that we weren't able to pick up one of these it makes it hard for me to say, yeah, let's go into the Big East tournament and just go win 4 games. Like I don't have that confidence, maybe as irrational as it was even a month ago. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I don't really got much to say. We are what we are.
Like, we are who we thought we were.
The name of this podcast is that Kesha song, "We Are Who We Are."
Yeah, like this is just. I mean, it is what it is. Justin.
I knew that was coming.
Well done.
On like a positive note, before I continue down my diatribe of
What are those?
Like the defense has.
You're not allowed to have positivity. No nuance.
No nuance. We don't do nuance here.
In general, the defense has looked better. We've had like 2 strong defensive games analytically, statistically, but like still in the big moments, we are not in the right place. We're getting beat. We're not focusing. We're not paying attention to the details. And we've seen that the whole year. In a normal Villanova season, the way I've always looked at it is like, I feel like you understand who your team is in the non-conference. You use early January to get out strong in your conference play, and then you kind of just like fight through February. For us, we were losing a bunch in the non-conference, and I think we kind of tricked ourselves. And maybe not tricked ourselves because Cam wasn't there and Justin wasn't there.
Yeah.
And Justin's still an incomplete grade here, but like Cam's been back for at this stage like 13 games or so. And I think Cam is an amazing individual talent. I think he's actually bought into Villanova, but at the end of the day, we are, let me do the math right now. We're 7-8 with Cam. That's just since Cam came back in the Oklahoma game. That's
the sum of the parts just aren't as much as we thought they were.
Yeah.
Like it's just that simple. Like sometimes like the teams come together and you're like, yes, the sum of the parts is much greater. Whatever that phrase is, you know what I'm trying to say. The whole is greater than the sum. Yeah. You got it. Thank you. And like for us, it doesn't seem to be.
No.
And we've just seen late game execution fail across the board. Temple, Michigan State, Iowa State. I mean, Portland wasn't even late game execution. We just lost that game.
Portland game. We just got over.
Portland's actually our worst loss of the year by like differential. Like we haven't lost we lost by 12 to them. We haven't lost to double digits to any other team. Let me do it quick. Yeah, and then Oregon was late game execution. UConn, I'm not going to blame late game execution. The second Marquette game was DePaul, Butler, Providence, Marquette, Creighton. That's 10 losses, just late game execution.
Yeah.
2 of which had the same play for the last shot, which is an Eric Dixon coming off motion 3-point shot, which Eric Dixon's a great 3-point shooter. He should not be taking motion threes at the buzzer. That's not setting him up to win. That's not setting the team up to win. It's just not the situation that should be happening. I know there was a read and there's options that come off of it, but at the end of the day, that's what came from it twice. And frankly, just, yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, this is what we are. This is who we are. We're talking about getting to the Big East tournament and making a run. And we said this last podcast, like, do we really think we can pull off 4 wins in a row? There's nothing this team has shown that makes me confident in that.
So let's talk a little bit about, like, okay, what could make you confident? Like, we're down the stretch here, right?
Oh, winning one of those 3 would have gone a long way for me.
Yes, I agree with that. But now we are where we are.
Yep.
And we are who we are. and what could gain some confidence, right? Like this homestand, right, this homestand coming up is pretty crucial in the sense of, like, you have 2 wins that you, like, absolutely must have to have it, right? Like, you have, and they're at either side of the homestand. You have DePaul coming up on Wednesday, and you have Butler coming up the week later, or 6 days later, on that Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Those teams do not look good. They look worse than they looked a month ago, like, definitively. Yep. And they're at the Fin, and they're revenge games. Like, absolutely, positively, gotta have those games. The Seton Hall game on Saturday, and we're getting into the previews later, but the Seton Hall game this upcoming Saturday night, primetime game, this game is enormous, right? Like, Seton Hall has candidly, after we kind of, and everybody kind of half wrote them off early on in the season, because it just seemed like Shaheen Holloway was just going to, like, by all means necessary, force his culture and his way onto that program, and they weren't going to get it this year, and he didn't care. Like, well, he kind of challenged his guys, and they responded. They have a big win against UConn. They have a decent tournament resume. They are right on the bubble. This game means a lot to them because they kind of have to win this game to keep themselves on the, I don't know if they're on the right side of the bubble yet, but they kind of have to keep their momentum going into their stretch run.
They have a sneaky good win versus Rutgers, which is, like, huge down. I could think be huge for them.
That's a good
Chris,
point.
I have a question, and you're our resident Big East expert here. Has UConn folded for the season, or what's their? Are they playing?
Hey, they got 2 wins in a row now. They got 2 wins.
Oh, so they're still playing.
One of those wins is against Georgetown. Let's be clear. Like,
yeah, that's like a club game.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I hadn't heard much about them. The Twitter for UConn has kind of quieted down.
Yeah, they've quieted down for good reason. They're having their own internal struggles.
I heard they were going to give an internship to Patrick Ewing just to try him out for the rest of the season because things hadn't been going well.
Man, on the UConn front, I can't envision a team that literally looked as good as they did in a non-conference and looked as bad as they did so far this season. They lost to St. John's, and St. John's fans are having regular Twitter spaces talking about who their next coach could be.
That's terrible.
It's a crazy situation.
Really bad.
But anyway, going back to Seton Hall, they've looked good. They've been very consistent. They're playing high-level defense. They're kind of back to that rock fight Seton Hall mentality. They make clutch plays down the stretch. Like they have been a very solid team, and they've worked themselves into a position where they are thinking about the NCAA tournament and have a right to. That game at the Wells Fargo Center is huge because we gotta show us something. We gotta go 3-0 in this stretch. Like, if we go 3-0 here, I'm not saying that automatically puts us in a position where you're like, okay, maybe we have the stones within us to make a Big East tournament run. But I can tell you that anything less than 3-0, and the doubts are.
So to answer your question, before I answer your question, I want to point out we just not celebrated, but we just noted UConn's 2 wins in a row. I made fun of Georgetown. I looked up the other one. The other win was against DePaul. So
yeah.
This is ridiculous. Anyway, moving on. I just want to point that out. Like,
no.
Those are barely.
I said that tongue in cheek. Their 2 wins in a row are like, okay. Congratulations.
But to answer your question, is there anything that would, like, what would it take to give me some hope that maybe there's a world in which we could rattle off 4 wins in a row? Not only do you have to win the next 3 games, I think you have to win those games by like 15 points convincingly. And this is a big and, Justin Moore needs to put up like 20 in one of those, because that would show me that, one, this team can come in, take care of stuff, like take care of business when they need to take care of business against inferior competition in theory. And 2, it shows you that Justin Moore has kind of that high tier upside that we saw last year. And I know he's shown flashes of it already coming back. But look, if I have to pick out something that's going to give me some hope, those are the 2 criteria: 3 15+ point wins and Justin Moore hitting like 20 points.
I agree on DePaul and Butler before you go. I agree on DePaul and Butler. There's almost a part of me that wants the Seton Hall game to go down to the wire, because these guys need to prove to themselves they could win a late game that's within like a couple possessions late in the game, right? Like they need to prove that against like a pseudo tournament quality squad.
Hard disagree.
You just rather win big. I get that.
Yeah, full stop.
We've done it once versus Oklahoma. We executed on the stretch versus them. That was, I thought, a turning point. Here we are. What I need to see is
it was a turning point. And
it was a turning point. Yeah. We need to win those 3 games. I don't care if it's by 40. I don't care if it's by 2. Like, win those 3 games. But realistically, winning those 3 games just tells me the ship is still afloat. Like, not where there's not like huge internal turmoil. The players are still bought in. Everything's cool. That tells me that. And like, obviously, yeah, winning those 3, that's just where it is. The big one for me is we need to steal one versus Providence or Xavier. If we can do that, then I will be like, okay, if this team has the ability to go into a hostile situation on the road and get a win versus 2 top 5 seeds, or one of those 2, I will feel somewhat confident that they can win on Thursday, Friday in the Big East tournament and get to Saturday. Yeah, because that's just at the end of the day, we got to get to Saturday, and we can't. The Thursday and Friday games are just going to be what it is. I know there's a lot of talk in Big East Twitter that like we looked good versus Creighton, and like people are like, oh, watch out for them. I disagree with it right now, but if we're able to do that versus Providence, then I say watch out in the Big East tournament, and maybe not even to make a run at it, but like we could upset someone and like mess up, like fuck up their chances going further. Like if we were able to get to like at this stage 16 and 15 with us stealing a win at like Xavier, let's say, I'd feel pretty confident that we could win on Wednesday, and then whoever we face that Thursday, like you should be on upset alert.
Yeah, I think
but that's what we have to get to.
You pointed out like the we're talking about the next 3 games, which are like are obviously must wins. Like, fuck must wins at this point. I don't even know what that means. Like it's against shit competition. But then the next 3 is like back into the gauntlet of top tier teams. That's like, okay, this is gonna be a fun one. Like
after those 3 games, you get at Providence, at Xavier, Creighton at home, at Seton Hall, and then finish with UConn. So fun, have fun there.
God, it's gonna be rough.
8-0, baby.
That would be something.
8-0.
8-0 is not even 8-0 is possible.
That would be the wildest. Absolutely wild. No,
if we finish the season 18 and 13, we don't even have to win the Big East tournament.
We go 8-0 the rest of the way. We just go on a run.
We go 8-0. I'm going to give $100 to the collective.
Oh man. Anyway, look, the reality of the situation is, just to be clear to our listener base here, we're not sitting here saying this is what we think is going to happen.
No, absolutely not.
Like, there's nothing that could prove anything. Like, I think we'll beat DePaul and Butler. The Seton Hall game, like, if I'm answering honestly, I think that game will come down the wire, and then it's going to be like, okay, prove it time. And so far this season, we haven't proven it in prove it time. But that game's going to come down. The Seton Hall game is going to be a rock fight. Let's just get it out of the way now. Like, we'll hopefully do a bigger preview later. But like, it's going to be the game is going to be like 56-55 under 4 minutes. Like, just mentally, but we don't even have to play the first 36 minutes of that game. I can tell you right now what it's going to be because every Villanova Seton Hall game is the exact same fucking thing. So it's going to be that.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna do a Seton Hall's ever scored like 75 or 80 versus us. Maybe they did the 2019 season, but I'm just gonna do some digging.
That's wild.
All right. So while Willie's doing some digging, we just had a very rational conversation around how, hey, we lost 3 losable games this week, and now like here's where the path goes from here. That's a rational conversation, right? Unfortunately, we have to address the fact that like a lot of irrational conversations have been going on, and everyone is guilty. And candidly, I'm fucking incensed. I am absolutely incensed at everybody right now. And we've held off on it. We've bit our tongue a little bit. We've gone through this, whatever. It's time to talk, right? Like it's time to talk. And candidly, what's kind of driving me towards this conversation is the reaction from so everyone's on blast, just to be clear. Me, us on this podcast, right? Like Villanova content creators who I love them dearly, but like they're on blast. The program itself is on blast, and we're going to get to that. The fan base writ large, especially Villanova Twitter, is on blast. Like everyone's on fucking blast right now, because the thing that really set me off today was there was this tweet that was going around where someone, I mean, we've all heard it, Kyle, in Neptune, that trope that's been going around, like whatever, right? Like, and apparently Eric Dixon liked one of those tweets. Now, just to be clear here, like, I don't actually know if that means anything, because sometimes the guys see tweets going on and like strategically like them to basically say, hey, I saw this, make a note of that. Like I'm making a note that you said that about one of my guys, one of my coach and whatever. Like I want to show you that I'm paying attention. Like I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Like this to me is not automatically going down the stretch of was my second choice for a reason, JQ, like Twitter story.
Yeah, that was blatant.
This is a wildly different situation than that. What?
Just random thought. Could you imagine if JQ tweeted that again right now?
This is an all-time troll. He's about to be maybe arguably on the #1 team in the country.
Yeah.
That'd be so good. Oh my God.
Yeah, my second choice for a reason.
Yo, we should screenshot that and tweet it at him. Hopefully they'll do it. That'd be epic.
Anyways, back to
full circle.
Back to the importance. Also, Seton Hall scored 70 like in 2020. They scored 77 in 2019, so it's very recent.
Okay. So this is what prompted it. And to the program, to the fan base, everyone chill the fuck out, okay? Like everyone needs to calm the fuck down, because the insecurity between our fan base and between the program, candidly, is absolutely outrageous. You want to talk about the one thing, like 10-13, no one feels good about this season. I think there was a lot of challenges, and I'm going to put myself on blast a little bit later. I'll do it at the back end. I'm going to put myself on blast a little bit later. But I think there was a lot of challenges here that like we didn't really fully ingest early on, and we probably should have lowered our expectations going into this season, and we did a bad job as a podcast. And I'll blast ourselves now, and I'll blast myself in particular.
Yeah, like, you especially, but
yeah, me especially. I am fucking guilty. I am the problem. Okay, let's just be honest here. I'm the problem. Okay, I went into this season super high end, and like I kind of thought that I could conjure wish it up myself, and I am apologizing to our listener base because I was part of getting your hopes up. Now I was reading tea leaves. I was trying to make decisions. I was trying to think through kind of like how this season could play out, and I fucked up. But we're gonna go back to me later.
Let's table that. My headline is like, I know where you're going. I want you to get back to your monologue. But like everybody needs to stop being a little bitch.
Yes.
Everybody across the board is just being a little bitch. I'm so fucking tired of it. Like
is being a fucking bitch about this entire fucking
whole
season.
Thing is absurd. Like absolutely absurd.
Stop it. Okay, everyone stop it. And I'm not just talking about Twitter. I'm really not. I'm talking to the program too.
Yeah. 100%.
Get your shit together. because you just lost 3 losable games that like Jay Wright has lost multiple times. The Providence game at home, the Marquette game away, the Creighton game away are the 3 games that Jay Wright seems to always fucking lose. Okay, so that you just lost 3 losable games that were kind of obvious going into them, and like everyone's like melting down over it. You got A-Ray posting about how he feels like he can't say what he wants to say. Like you got shit going on everywhere. Everyone stop. Okay, if the program is reaching out because they're trying to control the message, stop it. Stop it right now. Players, stop reading Twitter. Okay, stop going on Instagram and reading the fucking press clippings. Nothing healthy is happening here. We're on it all the time. I'm on it all the time. Nothing healthy, nothing good for you is happening there. Stop reading this shit. Okay, that's number 1. 2, the program in general, assistant coaches, whatever it may be, whoever's out there, whatever. Enough. Like you were happy to take the plaudits when we were winning, when we were in the Final Fours and whatever. People are pissed off and disappointed now. You sold that it was going to be constant continuity and all this other stuff, and culture doesn't change anything and whatever. And now you're paying the piper because every bounce goes the wrong way this season. Everything's happened. Everything's gone the wrong way. Stop it. Okay. Let the fans get their venting out. Okay. The players that are in Twitter, that are around, are helping you. Okay. Just because they express a couple of things here or there that are like negative or pointing out flaws or whatever, they're helping you because they're also explaining to fans on the regular basis that as are we, by the way, as are we. They're explaining on a regular basis what is going on, how this gets screwed up, and how it's actually not that far away from kind of working. Okay, the reason why we keep coming back on this podcast to like this hopeful potential outlook as to where the season goes, because it's not far away from working. Okay, so to Rob's point, stop being little bitches about it. Like, deal with it, own it, suck it up, focus on the fucking work that you guys have to do, and go win some more games. Okay, because you can do it. You've proven to us in the first 35 minutes of games, like we would joke about it, but you've proven to us in the first 35 minutes of games that you're capable of playing winning basketball versus teams that might go on second weekend or more runs in the tournament at their house. Okay, you've done it versus UConn, you've done it versus Marquette, you've done it versus Creighton. These are 3 of the best teams in the country. Okay, you've taken them to the wire, Marquette in their case, twice. Okay, and UConn and Creighton on the road. You've taken them down to the wire. You've proven that you can do it. Stop trying to control everything. You're not going to do it. And you're only going to turn off fans in the process.
100%.
You're turning off fans. Stop
Absolutely.
it. It's just not necessary. So that's my argument for the program. Now, for the fans. Sorry, I'll let you guys get in here.
Go for it. Yeah.
But for the fans, relax. Stop with the Fire Neptune fucking bullshit. Okay, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. Okay, no college, none, not Alabama football, not Kentucky basketball. Nobody fires a head coach after 1 season. Nobody, and no one does it after like 2/3 of 1 season. It just doesn't happen absent a scandal. Like it took Billy Gillespie's Kentucky like 2 or 3 years to invent a scandal to get him out of town. And that's Kentucky. Okay. We're not going to compare ourselves to Kentucky here. But at the same time, like enough. He's a 37-year-old or whatever how old he is, 37, 38-year-old head coach. Okay. He's in his 2nd year. You could argue about that. You could argue about the coaching search and whatever. We know this. It was always going to be a Jay Wright disciple. Always. Duke did the same thing. Carolina did the same thing. It was always going to be that direction because we were trying to keep the thing going. Okay. Right now, it's not going. Okay. Criticism is fine. The Fire Neptune shit is so stupid because it has no basis in reality. So stop. Like, it's just not useful. 2 years from now, we will be there. If this continues at this level, I promise you, our fan base, our listener base, or whatever, we'll be right there with you to be like, this isn't acceptable. We need to have a conversation about this. That I promise you about that. Like, we're not sitting here trying to placate to everybody. Like, yeah, we're fans of the program. We want the program to succeed. As a result, I want Kyle Neptune to succeed. The people who are positive polys in the clouds about everything and are just like, oh, well, it's gonna work out, I promise. Like, you don't know shit either. You're wrong too. You are wrong as well. So I just need everyone to just chill the fuck out. So I'll pause there for a second. Brian is all of a sudden showed up and he wants to chat.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Brian?
I just wanted to say that was a really good rant. I rarely show my face here, but fire Neptune.
Brian from Philly, a long-time listener, first
Brian,
time.
yeah.
Thanks,
Long time, first time, guys.
Yeah.
No, I don't fully mean that, but a lot of what Chris said I echo, and I think Rob and Willie.
Yeah.
Add their,
But the point is this: is that you like the fans who are positive also like it's almost like toxic positivity at the same useless positivity. It means it's absolutely meaningless. It's breathing hot air into the universe. No one gives, just in the way that the negative Fire Neptune people are. Like, again, useless. You're not saying anything of any value. No one of any consequence listens to that, thinks it's reasonable, and all you're doing is causing yourself more angst than it's worth, because it's just you're telling on yourself. And the final point that I'll make is that the people who say Fire Neptune the loudest are the people who were also beating the drum. We're fucking blue blood now. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go talk shit to another fan base and blah, 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 throw everyone under the bus and whatever. And now they're like, oh my God, we went 10-13 on one season. Like, if we don't get this shit together, we're going to fall from grace and be in Georgetown. Like, you're telling on yourself. You never fucking believed that we were a blue blood, because if you believed that we were a blue blood, you would be able to say, fucking 1 year, write it off. We'll get back. We'll be right back next year.
And that's what I want to say at the end of this all. If this is truly just a one season thing, it's one season. It sucks in the middle of it, but it's just one season. If there's larger issues that we don't know, then we can talk about that as when those come out, whatever. But as of right now, all the information that we have is it's just one season with a second-year head coach who very clearly is making mistakes and like learning on the fly, a team that hasn't fully been together, but's been partly together, that is underachieving despite having reasons to underachieve, but also has reasons to like go. There's just a bunch of shit reasons that this season's kind of not going the way we think about it, but it is 23 games through a season. It is one season. And as like we've talked about, if we are the program that we say we are, if we are this blue blood program, we will figure out the transfer portal, and with the transfer portal or whatever it may be, whoever we pull in, things change very quickly. Cooley had a whole Providence team leave and has brought in a brand new Providence team, and they are thriving.
Really
Portal
good.
works both ways.
Literally fucking adapt or die. That's
Yep.
what it is. And if we can't adapt, then we fucking deserve to die.
Yes.
100%. Absolutely. Really well said. I agree with most everything that's been said. And I feel like I'm just going to be shooting myself in the foot here and going against my general advice, which anybody who listens to the podcast, I don't talk about this too much, but my general advice is in life, just lower your expectations. But
Rob's taking that thing. It specifically happened in the last 7 years of the world, but really formed in that time period, just to give you context. But yes, lower your expectations.
But yeah, when you're dealing with people, just generally lower your expectations. So I feel like my next set of words are going to be absolutely wasted, but that's okay. I'm going to try it anyway. My ask to the program, to the fan base is just try to do just a little bit of nuance, like just a touch, like get somewhere in between an absolute of like, for the program, I have to control this narrative to like everything's in chaos. Like you can operate in an in-between space. You can understand that people are frustrated. You can understand that your success has therefore put you in the spotlight and raised expectations. And as a result, people are going to be more critical of you. And you can actually embrace that and say, hey, look, we get it. We got to do a better job. Like that's part of what comes with this. You want to be a big time program. You want the new stadium. You want the big donor money. But guess what? Like you got to perform. And with that comes people who are going to be more vocal. It comes podcasts that are coming on and going to call you out on some of your shit. It comes at people following you on Twitter and like putting you on blast. But like that's part of what comes with the success. And like, understand that and appreciate that. Villanova is big time college sports. Like, you're gonna have to deal with that. And if you can't deal with that, get the fuck out of the spotlight. That's
100%.
my word to the program. Now to the fan base, same thing. Like Chris, I think has articulated this pretty well, so I won't spend too much time on it. But like, understand there's some level of nuance here. Yes, we all want to do better. Guess what? The people in the athletic department, you think they're sitting around on their asses being like, oh, this is okay. Like, hope it turns around. Fuck no. They want to do better. I'm sure they're busting their ass every day to try and figure out what they can do better. You think the guys on the court are satisfied with this? Absolutely fucking not. Do you want to go up to one of them and say, hey, you suck? Absolutely fucking not. You're not going to do that because you don't have any fucking balls. And guess what? Because they're actually busting their ass every day when they're out on the court. Understand that. Understand that people are putting their best foot forward. Also, it's okay to say, I want better. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, expect
Go ahead.
more.
Fucking
Totally.
Criticize.
But
the late game
criticize-
rotations have been shit until lately.
But also, don't be a fucking dick about it. It's not hard. Just don't be a fucking dick.
Yes.
Like, it's okay to criticize. Like, but guess what? People are people. People who work in the athletic department are people. People on the court are people. Like, you don't want somebody coming up to you like on the street and blowing up your shit. So chill the fuck out, be a decent person, and just like, I don't know, everybody introduce like a little bit of nuance into your life. Just a touch. It's all matters. Just a touch.
It is just basketball, you know.
Just a touch, just for a second, just to see how it feels.
Just to see how it feels. God, fucking A. Jesus.
Rachel's got a hand raised.
Yeah, no, I agree with Rob 100%. I mean, I think about it and I go, short of like the player in like, I think it was Iowa men's basketball who took like a 7-game leave of absence because like he had so much anxiety because like of the spotlight, right? Short of having our players do that, which we don't have the room to do in our lineup because like we haven't been 100% since the season fucking started. Like, people just need to have a little more grace. And we all know that I'm Jewish and I'm not trying to bring like religion into this, but like, if you want to talk about like if you want to talk about like the institution of Villanova and like one of the big reasons a lot of people go there is because it is a Catholic university.
Ooh,
it's like, you know what I mean? Like, preach, like practice what you preach, right?
I like it.
And it's not, this is like totally not to be like, you know,
Preachy.
controversial in any way. It's just like, have a little grace. Understand that these are I feel like I'm the one who says this all the time, but like, these are literal children. They are 18 to 22-year-olds. They're like
exclusively not children.
They're definitely not children.
Okay.
They're all paid.
They're not children, fine, but they're young.
Technically
They're
adults,
young
too.
guys. You know what I mean? Like they're like barely adults. Like they're learning how to go like handle all this stuff. It's like just, you know. So the season is worse than we thought it was gonna be. Like, okay, like there's always next year. Like, it's not that big a deal.
The biggest problem that I have, Rachel, I agree with your comment. The biggest problem that I have with the program side of it is because this is a learning opportunity for these guys as men, right? Like as young people in general who are going through a difficult period of time, who are putting in hard work objectively, because by the way, it's not like they've given up on the court. They haven't given up on the court at all. It's actually quite obvious that this team is hung together through thick and thin. And that's saying something because the go from the final 4 to 10 and 13 is, if you go by the fan base, right? Like they would tell you to give up. Cam shouldn't play. Justin shouldn't play. This, that, and the other thing. Blah 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 blah. Like, all these people shouldn't fucking play because what's even worth anymore? Like
just roll out the walk-ons.
Yeah, the give up is large. So like these guys are not. There's no give in whatsoever. These guys are 100% in. But a learning point for them in life. You're going to put 100% in and you're not going to get what you want sometimes, right? Like people get laid off. People don't get the promotions that they want. Right? Like it's not fucking sunshine and rainbows. So this is life, right? Like this is life, and you're getting a healthy dose of of a thing right now that you're going to learn and grow from. And you're fortunate that you're going through it now, as opposed to having to go through it when there is a family that you have to attend to, a mortgage that you have to attend to, blah, 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 all these other things, right? Like, take that moment now, learn how to handle it with grace, and move forward. There's an opportunity here for the young men on this team to actually learn something. And when I hear things like, or reading tea leaves, so to speak, I haven't heard necessarily anything, but I read tea leaves of Twitter and what's going on. I will say that it seems like we're trying to like shut down critique, shut down criticism, hold this together. It's hurting recruiting. It's hurting the like guys, like every fucking fan base, every program around the country, Indiana, Kentucky, UConn, right? Like
Same shit.
Same fucking shit. It's the same thing. Villanova is not special in the way that their fans respond to things than anybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Like the problem, maybe the argument, the problem is that you've told them that Villanova is this sanctuary of nothing but glowing support all the time. And now when that thought process is wrong, you've got some problems, right? Like maybe that's the case, but even still, you have to understand 80% of your fan base is still behind you. These games are still well attended. Right? Like people are still there. People are still showing up. People want this thing to turn around. Right? Like the want to have this thing go well is present. So that's all there. Now we have to turn our attention to me. Because I'm a huge fucking problem. And I need to go out and say this and take ownership of it. Going into this season, reading kind of what was going on, the Kyle Neptunes feels like Jay wasn't even here during the last several years, and it feels kind of business as usual. And we got Cam Whitmore, a lottery pick, and Justin Moore might come back in late December, and the practices are going well. Everything seems business as usual on the main line. We're number 16 in the AP poll going into the season. All these things leading into it, returning 4 people from a Final Four, all the things, right? Like, you say that and you say, yeah, okay, this team can tread enough water that they'll be in a good position. And when Justin Moore comes back, fucking fire it into 4th gear, put on the afterburners, and this team could get really fucking hot. And I said it myself that this team like could cut down the nets in Houston, right? Like, because I thought, hey, put on the afterburners. We got all this stuff going on. I saw what happened with Kevin Ollie. I saw what happened with, I'm fucking blanking on the name of the guy in North Carolina, but like Huey Davis, like, and said maybe Neptune's the next in that line of things that good first years happen and like whatever. That clearly hasn't been the case, but also it was stupid. And my getting the hopes up, Rob, on this podcast 2-3 years ago, we said lower your expectations. Right, like we told people how to manage their own expectations, and we managed the expectations up front, and then had a better result at the end. And we were happy about kind of how that season played out as a result of that. We failed, and I in particular failed our listener base by getting your hopes up and kind of riding that message, thinking like, yeah, we're going to get 1 or 2 really good years here out of this early Neptune years, and then we'll have to figure it out from there. Because I thought that like culture was kind of on autopilot, just kind of plug Neptune in instead of Jay. All the assistants are back. All the players who we knew were coming back are back. Justin Moore comes in mid-year, and we have the train rolling again, and boom, there it is. And I thought also maybe it could be a pseudo down year in the conference. So I thought maybe we could start rolling like right away. Hasn't happened. Okay. Hasn't happened. And candidly, to a degree, we were wrong, and I in particular was wrong for trying to speak that into existence as if it was an expectation. Yeah. That shouldn't have been the expectation. Should the expectation have been to be 10 and 13? Absolutely not. This program is underperformed, right? Like, period. But should the expectation have been at this moment in time to be 13 and 10, 14 and 9? Yeah, that's probably about where we should have expected this team to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was hot.
Yeah.
That was hot. I don't know.
Thank you for your apology, Chris. I accept it gracefully.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian's been one of the most people who's been pissed off by my take early this season.
I mean, it was a ridiculous take looking back.
Well, I will say
it was a
Chris-
ridiculous take.
It was,
even
in the moment, it was ridiculous.
Even
Come
in the
on.
moment, I think we called him out in the moment on it.
We did.
But, yeah.
I was
unmuted.
like,
I
I was
unmuted.
like, oh, we could be like a 5 seed is where I thought we could get up to. Like, I was expecting the 2018-2019 season. Is what I was expecting.
Yeah.
where
But
I
I thought
noticed
this was the 18-19 season where the 6 seed that we were going to get was going to be like the 6 seed that blows up a bracket. So that was my.
That was your, yeah.
well, where I noticed Chris was on to me is I was bitching about fans on Twitter, and he responded, "That's not fans on Twitter, Brian. That's me saying that." I was like, "Oh, he caught me."
I'm holding myself accountable. This is about accountability, and I'm number one on the list of people who needs to be held accountable.
I like it.
All right. With that being said, why don't we take a small break here? We're gonna put a pin in this. We'll have a 1 minute interlude, if you will, 30-second interlude, and then we're gonna be back with John Maniatis. I don't know if I got his name pronounced correctly, but he is the host of the DePod, who hosts the DePaul, his great DePaul podcast. We'll talk a little bit more about that when he comes on. And we'll see if we have someone else to help with the Seton Hall preview coming up as well. All right. We'll be back with you in just a minute. All right, everyone, welcome back to Full 40 with Chris, Rob, and Willie. We have two very special guests with us to talk about the week that's coming for Villanova basketball. We got John Maniatis from DePaul. Did I get it? You just told me.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, no, it was fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
He is the host of the DePod, and he does a great job. He's had their athletic director on once or twice. He does a great job with that podcast. And then you also have JP Carlesimo, who's at JP Carlesimo. It's not his real name, but he's using his superhero name, his alias, if you will. But he's joining us as well. He is Seton Hall's premier Twitter account. So we're talking to him as well. Do a little bit of preview around our games this week. So first off, I just want to ask one question for you guys. We a lot of talks internal at Villanova about where we stand. I'm just curious from your guys' standpoint, like, and be honest, because we were just ruthlessly honest. Like I went on a fucking.
It was
You'll hear it. It was.
Yeah, it was a lot. I want to know like your honest take as to what Villanova's team is this year right now.
I mean, personally, I mean, 22 straight losses against you guys. For us to win, there's always going to be some sweetness there, but it's absolutely bittersweet given like where everyone thinks you all are. I think that early on in the season, you all had obviously a lot of injury bug like we did, and truthfully, where you guys are going though, if we could play spoiler to the Jalen Brunson and Jay Wright thing that's happening against us, it'll be a lot more sweet than it is.
I respect that. JP.
I mean, it's a little disappointing, like looking at like what Villanova's been. Like I obviously didn't think after the start that they would be like good at any point. But it's good to see they're competing right now. I mean, that's something. It kind of sucks now that like we have to play Villanova twice. We get them once at home. It's not even going to really be a good like metrics game. So like that's I mean, like yeah, like the game brutal. The game at Wells Fargo, like that's always a tough game, and I mean it's going to be a Q2 bloodbath. And then the game at the Pru, it's a Q3 game. Like that's going to absolutely suck. But
that's terrible. Oh,
I love that, JP. I love that, man. I love your ruthlessness on that.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, Chris, before the year started. Like, I really thought, like, once they got more back, they would be an absolute wagon. And they just, like, I think I overestimated Kyle and Neptune.
There it is.
We talked about that on the first half of the podcast. All right. So I appreciate that take. I appreciate that, all of that. So let's talk a little bit. You guys just played each other today, which is kind of like an interesting wrinkle to having you both on.
If you want to call that basketball, but yes.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
You guys played 40 minutes of an orange ball bouncing up and down, and there was baskets on either end, and there was a game, and it happened. I guess let me play this the other way. What did you guys learn about the other? And I'll start with you, JP, because we're playing DePaul first.
I mean, honestly, Mo Gibson is a dude. Like, he's so good. That team completely quit today, and he was just rolling. Like, he single-handedly willed DePaul back into contention in that basketball game. Everyone else was basically doing nothing. I mean, the defense of Seton Hall is obviously really good. Like, DePaul couldn't get anything going. I mean, I thought they played pretty hard the first half, and then everything kind of just went kind of to shit when Seton Hall started making some baskets. I think they had like a 46-16 run at some point. Someone said that's insane.
Yeah, it was rough.
I mean, like, they're playing hard still, for the most part. That's really all you can ask for when your team's not really in contention with anything. So,
was at any point in time today? Was it Deshaun Nelson time at any point?
Then
dude, he
when it was
came out
15
and
to
he was
1,
like on fire.
15-1, yeah.
He came right out. He had eight quick points, and I was like, oh, at least I'm getting cooked by Deshaun Nelson. I can live with that.
Deshaun Nelson absolutely cooked us.
Well, yeah, he had his coming out party. He had 24 points against you guys. I mean, he's probably I think the brightest star so far this season for DePaul, aside from Mo Gibson. Don't want to talk down on that, because he's been a horse himself. But as far as JP and Seton Hall goes, those guys just punch you in the mouth. It's a slog. The defensive battle that they put up, and they do it without fouling, which is insane, especially with these Big East referees. With you all saw it yesterday against Creighton, the way they called these soft fouls. I think that how Seton Hall did it today I think in the first half there was DePaul shot like 2 free throws. It's insane. So
Don,
credit
you
to
were
them.
the first person in my history since the new Big East started to tell me that Villanova got jobbed in any game by a referee. I have to tell you that.
Yeah,
it's the first time ever.
I think there should have been a foul on that reach in by who was it, Trey Jackson or whoever was on Creighton yesterday. Thank you, Trey Alexander. And I think that should have been a foul on him, given how the rest of the game was being called. So
Yeah.
I don't expect JP to give any credit on officiating when Villanova's involved.
No, absolutely not. You broke up the wrong tree there.
So John, let's talk a little bit of DePaul. Look, obviously you guys had a star-crossed season here. It's been obviously you have the win against us, you have the win against Xavier, and it looked like, okay, now we're cooking. And then it's kind of gone back the other direction a little bit here. You had the loss at Georgetown, which, if we're being honest, and I'm going to issue a really hot take, I'm not sure Georgetown is the worst team in the conference. I'm not sure they're the second worst team in the conference. Yes, yes, Willie. Willie's looking at me. Butler is the worst team in the conference, which we lost to them too. But Butler's the worst team in this conference right now. But you guys are like have a lot of pieces. I happen to believe Stubblefield is kind of actually might be the guy for you guys. But what is it? Injuries? Is it just like an inability to get like this ball rolling? Is it trying to get over a hump of like years of kind of being kind of at the back end of the Big East? Like what is it?
It's I think a culmination of all of that, right? Like you had there's so much hype coming into the season. You had Mo Gibson coming in, you had Caleb Murphy coming in. It was like, okay, you have an Agenda back, you have Javen Johnson back. I think it's the oldest team in the Big East, right? But then all of a sudden we get hit, like someone like voodoo dolled our wrists, and 3 guys went down with injuries, and right before the season started. So I think that with all of that like excitement and hype coming into the season, there was just a huge letdown, and then they could never get back on track from there. Even when we started getting Yor back, and we started getting, now Caleb's back finally, Agenda's still out, and you were playing teams. You're playing teams without a true center for so long, and guys playing out of position. and asking guys to do things that they're not used to doing. It was just a recipe for disaster from there on out.
Gotcha. So turning attention to our game a little bit, what do you think is so? You guys won the first rounds.
Right.
We have a little bit of a revenge game for us coming back, and you're at the Finneran Pavilion, as you already referenced. We're honoring Jay and Jalen, so we're trying to throw out. We're bringing all the juju
All the stops.
here
All the stops.
to
Yeah.
try and beat DePaul.
For a February game versus DePaul.
Yeah, but so we got all the juju working here, but like from your angle, kind of what do you guys feel like you need to do to kind of repeat what happened in January?
Well, I think we have, truthfully, what has to happen is something that hasn't happened all year. We have to hit the 3 away from home. And it's been tough. I mean, you look at the splits versus home versus away, shooting the 3. You saw it today. It's night and day. Like now towards the end of the game, Mo Gibson came up and started hitting them, but Javen Johnson was like 0 for all game, and he's the catalyst, man. And if he gets going early, it could be lights out for Nova. But and I'm still waiting for that one game that DePaul has all year. I wouldn't count the Xavier game so much as this, but the one game that you go in and they shoot lights out, and you kind of weren't expecting it, and they go out and beat someone by 15, 20 points. And I hope that that's Nova away from home, just to spoil that, because that would be so, like I said earlier, so sweet. But I think the matchup too for Nova versus DePaul this year, I think our players match up nicely, which is why we had the outcome that we did earlier in the year. But I think that we just have to hit the 3 early on.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously, anytime you're on the road, you want to make shots. But that makes sense. I'm from my angle, I'm looking for it to be a little bit more of a revenge game. Obviously, with Moore back, that's a boon. He's been pretty good. Actually, I think he's been better than I think we expected him to be so far. It hasn't resulted in a win, which is mysterious, but it's one of those situations where I do feel like we're starting to get things moving in the right direction, except we can't close. So, look, to me, it's going to be interesting. I hope it doesn't come down to the last few minutes, but as you've now seen from our angle, like if we get down to the last 5 minutes in games, we kind of have I don't know if it's a rust or a confidence factor here. I was just curious what your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where because you look at we had a non-conference game for Samford. We had trouble closing that game out, and Samford's played well in their conference and what have you, but we've had trouble closing out those last minute games too. I mean, you guys changed your name to the Full 35 podcast, jokingly, tongue in cheek, of course, but I think there's a lot of that truth too when it comes to DePaul. We can't put together a full 40 minutes for whatever reason, and it's going to be unstoppable force means immovable object on one side of the ball. So I think that it's a toss up, man. I think you guys are kind of on the upswing and we're on the downswing, unfortunately. But I hope we could get right to get some sort of momentum going into the Big East tournament, so that we could at least have some confidence for that.
All right, John, I appreciate that. JP, we got a Wells Fargo night game coming up on Saturday. You guys have been good. I thought you guys early in the season were kind of like, okay, Shaheen is just kind of writing off this year, and you guys are he's just gonna like let this ride out because he's gonna force his culture and his will on this program. And then everyone kind of responded. So you guys are definitely in the tournament mix. You guys have looked really good of late. Tell me what your thoughts are going into this game.
Man, I kind of think of it like it's almost like a reverse, basically, of the last 5 or 6 years, basically, we've been playing this game, where Seton Hall is the team that's kind of going to be probably favored to win the game. And no matter how good or bad Seton Hall or Villanova team is, they always play each other tough. And it's like one of those games where it's like, man, like I want this to end, but at the same time, I really don't. Like I don't even know how to describe it. But I'm not overly optimistic, really. like you were talking earlier about closing games. I think a lot of that is just Justin Moore shaking off the rust. Like he hasn't been playing live game action in the entire year. Really makes a lot of sense for him to just really come out of his shell against Seton Hall. That would be so fitting. Which I'm gonna hate it. I'm gonna say it
The
now, and it's gonna
self-loathing
happen on
amongst
Saturday.
Big East fan bases. The self-loathing amongst Big East fan bases is second to none. It goes hand in hand with Catholic guilt. It's like one and the same.
Hey, you know what though? I'm rooting for Justin. You know, it's a good story for that kid to get back on the horse. You know, obviously a tough injury for him. So if we go down there and Justin Moore beats us, I'm okay with it. It sucks, but you know,
What if Chris Archidiakono hits a late three?
like he did last year, and
Yeah,
I
like
wanted to
last
literally
year.
strangle myself. He hit that three. What was it? Like the shot clock was literally at like 1. And I think Seton Hall was up at that point, or they were chasing. It was a close point in that game towards the end, and he hit that three, and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me, dude!" Of all people, I'm getting arched again. Not even the good one this time.
That shot was one of the classic, like, no, no, no. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't even think he hit a shot the rest of that game too. He just hit that one
no,
shot.
definitely not. He probably didn't hit a shot for the next three. So I guess kind of from your angle, JP, what has gone right for Hall in the month of January? Because like from January swoon from to January boon, you guys have had a hell of a month. This is kind of uncharted territory for you guys. Are you waiting for the other shoe to drop, or like tell me what's gone well?
No, I just think kind of what you were saying. If you look at this team in like November, December, there was just no cohesion. Everyone was kind of like, this is not Kevin Willard anymore. Everyone hated it. And I don't know if it started. I think it kind of started a little bit at the Rutgers game, because that's when you kind of saw Kadari Richmond take a step. He bought in, and then now you're starting to see all these other guys buying in. Guys that I honestly thought would have no business being on this team and buying into it or buying in. Like I look at like a Trey Jackson right now. He's going to be huge if he can actually play defense like he's played it the last week. I mean, he held his own against Joel Soriano. That's a beast. You know, not taking anything away from URNA, but he did pretty well today against him. He's still a big body. You know what I mean? Trey's 6'10", 200 pounds soaking wet. But I mean, you saw what the kid can do when he can score the basketball. So if you get that going from him, he's playing good defense to spell Tyrese Samuel, because they really don't have like true bigs. So you're playing a lot of guys out of position. But whatever's going on right now is working. The buy-in's great. They're starting to hit some shots. Al Dawes is starting to play like an actual basketball player, which is good. You know, it's going to be a matter of, can they consistently hit shots and not have a 10-minute span where they don't make a bucket?
Yeah. Well, JP, I can fast forward this to you and tell you the future. I'm just going to get my crystal ball out. And that the 36 minutes into this game, at the under 4 timeout, this game is going to be like 55-56. we could just get to that point and actually watch the game play out, because every time we play you guys, it's pretty much that exact score.
And you're absolutely right. That's why I'm saying it makes total sense why Saturday is Justin Moore's like I'm back party. Like he closes out that game. You guys are going nuts. Like, oh, like bang, we're back. And then,
We're back at 12-13.
Yeah.
At best, by the way, at best.
Yeah, so you just assumed a DePaul win.
At best. At
What the
best.
heck, man?
I mean, they've looked pretty, not like they haven't looked great, but they're competing in these teams against, you know, they go to, you get Marquette and compete. You go to Creighton, you compete. You know, that's really all you can ask for. It's better than, you know, straight up just losing to a Butler team, you know?
Yeah, that's what we did earlier in the month.
Already did
No,
that.
but it's better. It's certainly
Yeah.
better than what St. John's has been doing of late. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying, you know?
Yeah. All right. Any parting thoughts here, guys?
Like you said, that last 5 minutes of that game on Saturday is going to be extremely stressful, especially if Seton Hall can't beat Creighton on Wednesday. Because if they go 0-2, they might be in a little bit of trouble there. So I would just love to sweep Nova for once. I know it's not going to happen now, but just to be able to do that and say, you know, tell my grandkids we swept Nova one year, you know.
I'm jumping on the back of that too. I mean, it'd
Yeah.
be nice to get that W on what is it, Monday or Tuesday? Gosh, I'm losing
Wednesday.
it right now. But There you go. I can't keep my schedule straight, but at the same time, I think truthfully, if we could play spoiler to Jay Wright and Jalen Brunson, I'll be happy. So definitely want to come out with that win. I think I don't know who needs it more right now.
I love
I
that.
don't know if. No, go ahead.
I love that about you guys. Honestly, like I love that you root hard for your team, but you guys are honest, give good assessments. So we have John Maniatis, who's at Return of the Dibs and at the DePod. And he does a great job with the DePod podcast. And JP at JP Carlesimo, who I'm sure many people in the Villanova spheres have interacted with. He'll be on. He'll have a comment on the refs no matter what the fuck happens. So you can guarantee that. But JP is a great follow as well. So I would recommend that everyone who's listening turns to those guys to help get the other side of kind of the game the games that are coming up this week. All right, Rob, Willie, anything else?
Good on my end.
We're all Gucci.
Awesome.
One last thing, guys. I wore this Out the Mud hoodie for Paul Reed and your 76ers fans out there. So go root on Paul for us.
I love that.
Fair
Ball,
enough.
ball, baby.
That's a great shout out.
You know what? Before we wrap up, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this on a Villanova podcast. I think I tweeted it earlier, but I don't know if any of you guys caught the who was it? Ohio State and Michigan game today when Jay was on the call. Dude, he was fantastic. He truly was. Honestly, like I learned more about like just random things in basketball I thought I'd never even care about in listening to Jay for 10 minutes than I would have imagined.
Hey, which Jay are we talking? Who's Jay?
Jay Wright.
Oh, the old coach. Yeah, I know.
Also, speaking of that game, the halftime entertainment in that game was absurd. It was some guy throwing hats and catching them and like juggling hats and putting them on his head. I've never seen anything like it. It was
It's like
Red
a red
Panda's
panda
days
for
are
hats.
numbered.
Yeah, I was a
like-
big fan.
Yeah.
Red
Red
Panda's
Panda
gonna
better
start
watch
doing
out.
that. She's gonna start doing that on the unicycle.
Is
Yeah.
Red Panda washed? She's kind of washed.
I mean,
Hey, you know
What
what?
people are
She-
saying.
She
Sweet
brought
to talk
home
to.
she brought home that victory for us. Last a month ago. So I'll take Red Panda any day right now.
I love it. All right. Don, JP, thank you guys so much for
Thanks.
joining us here on the Full 40. All right, that wraps it up for today. Thank you everybody for listening, and as always, let's go Nova.